Well, the most important asset on a farm or for a farm is the land. And of course, it does make the acquisition of ag property critical for many producers. But as a legal transaction, a number of issues and considerations can crop up through the process. Well, Roger McEowen with the Washburn University School of Law joins us now with the latest insight. And Roger, as always, thanks for joining us for the Rural Money segment. We appreciate it. So what are some of the environmental issues that we need to keep in mind here?
Well, Janet, good to be with you. I would say probably the biggest one is potential liability under the circular or the Superfund law. Now, we don't tend to think of that as applying to agricultural land, but the way hazardous waste is defined under that law is so broad, it's going to pick up and include most pesticides and herbicides and all other types of farm chemicals. So we don't want to buy property and then find potential liability for something that somebody did in the past. So we need to do our due diligence to figure out what has happened on that property in the past so that we don't become liable for it in the future.
Roger, what about publicly available information? What type of record keeping do farmers need to stay on top of?
Well, that's a great question. There's actually a lot of publicly available information about farmland that's out there. You want to check the auditor's office, the Register of Deeds office to see what type of restrictions are on the property. The auditor's office may give you valuation numbers, and then check that local FSA office to see what documentation is available, and maybe talk with the seller to see if they have consented to allowing you to look at some of the farm program information that's there. And it'll have acreage numbers on it, it'll have soil types, whether you're dealing with wetlands, highly erodible soil, those types of things. A lot of good publicly available information that you need to check out.
So how do leases play a role in all of this?
This is a big issue. A lot of farmland is leased. The last thing you want to run into is an undisclosed tenant. As a buyer, you're going to take the land subject to any existing lease. And so if that lease hasn't been properly terminated, you're going to have to deal with that tenant at least for probably the first year that you have that own that land. You're going to have to give the notice to terminate them. And you want to make sure that you're dealing with the actual tenant that you know about, and there's not somebody lurking in the weeds, so to speak, maybe on FSA documentation that was put on there to maybe get an extra payment limit, and now suddenly they surface and claim, well, you didn't give me notice to terminate. And so you want to make sure you get certifications and statements from the seller as to anybody they've dealt with in the past on a lease arrangement.
And so, Roger, what is the big takeaway going through this entire process here?
Well, I think there's several. You want to ask questions, you want to investigate, walk the property, talk to the neighbors, use common sense, and also use a good ag lawyer.
All right. Well, as always, Roger, thank you very much for your insight today. We appreciate it. Roger McEowen, he's with the Washburn School of Law on the phone, or rather not on the phone. He's joining us, of course, via video today. You can go online and find more, washburnlaw.edu online. Thank you, Roger.